Okay, so here's what's going to happen, y'all, right? We're talking about immigration today, and I'm really committed to showing you how easy it is to just talk about one side of an argument. Okay, and it's difficult to present both sides. Trust me, I try really, really hard. I read really conservative magazines. I read really liberal magazines. I'm all over the place trying to always find a way to be in the middle. I have 6 basic ideas or sort of topics regarding immigration. Some of it undocumented, some of it documented immigration. And each one's broken up into 2 parts. One that shows a really pro-immigration stance, and the other that shows a really anti-immigration stance. And what I'm going to do is I'm only going to show that there are 2 pairs here, right? I'm going to present only one side of the argument to each pair. So they're going to the pairs are just going to keep coming in and out of the room, in and out of the room. And each time they come in, I'm only going to show them one side of the argument. And then I'm going to bring the other pair in, and I'm going to show them the other side of the argument. And I'm going to show them the opposite side of the argument to which they believe or think they believe. And I'm going to try to get them to switch their positions, or at least get them to, instead of being like way over here or way over here, I'm going to at least try to get them to the middle, so that they're confused enough that they would end up saying, I really don't know what's going on. There's about 1.1 million people in the U.S. who are eligible for DACA, okay? But there are about 790,000 people that were signed up, right, kind of at the end of where this was. And they're called the Dreamers. And what DACA is, it means that you came to the U.S. illegally or without papers when you were age 16 or younger. You were put in school, and you graduated from high school. And if you didn't graduate from high school directly with a diploma, you got your GED. And after you graduated, you either A, got a job and started working immediately, or B, went to college. Okay? And if you did those things, you are eligible to get your residency papers. And if you get your residency papers, then it becomes much easier to be a citizen, right? So what Trump really threatened, and I'm not saying you all support Trump, right? But Trump really threatened to unplug DACA. He said he was going to rescind it. Like this, the Bush administration and the Clinton and the Obama administration, and they really pushed this forward because you got to decide what you're going to do with undocumented peoples. And children didn't choose to come here. A lot of times they're brought here as young infants, and then they come and they don't have a choice, right? It's like, what do you do? And you're here, and like these kids right here, they're Americans, man. It's very likely they don't even speak Spanish, that they speak English. It's almost certain they've never been home. Because if they're here without papers, they probably have never gone home, right? And this is their culture. They may look Mexican, and we have this idea like they're Mexicans. They eat tacos and burritos, and I'm sure they probably do, right? But they also eat hamburgers and French fries and grilled cheese sandwiches. They are Americans. They watch American cartoons. They watch cartoons in English. They go to English-speaking schools. They do everything that any other American does. And so for someone to say, we're going to unplug the plug on DACA, and we're not going to give you this opportunity to be residents here, is really problematic. Because who else should get residency status but little kids who were brought here against their will and okay, here it is, we're going to be here.
I think that was a negotiating tactic for Trump when he do that. I think that wasn't his original plan. I think his original plan was he takes the extreme and then works his way back to get the deal that he wants.
You don't think it'll be revoked?
I don't think Congress would let Trump do that, and Trump doesn't have almighty power.
Yeah.
He has checks and balances.
But there are lots and lots of Americans who want to revoke that.
I think the original problem is that we removed these people in this situation and we didn't legalize them right away. I think
exactly.
If anybody should be in a country, they should be in a country legally.
Yeah, exactly. And they're here legally, and so we can't send them home and then ask them to come back.
Right, but there should be a pathway to citizenship. I think any country should have a tally. If they're going to vote and they're going to have a say in a country, they should have a tally of who their citizens are.
Here, let me walk you through the process. Undocumented peoples come into the U.S. and they just keep coming and they keep coming and they keep coming. And then at some point in time, we decide, okay, we're going to have some kind of amnesty. And we give them all amnesty, and then we go back to the count. We start the counter back at 0, and we start over. And it's the same damn process over and over and over again. And it's like, at some point in time, you got to put your foot down and say, no, we're not doing it anymore. And we got to start sending people home. It's like, look, I get that the kids were, they didn't come here. They came here against their will, and so on. It's like, look, everybody comes against their will at some level. It's like we can't just say yes, because all that does is sends a message back to the home countries, the sending countries, to send more and more people. And so they send more people. So that's one. The second thing I want to say is control works, y'all, right? People say like, well, but we can't, but control doesn't really work because, no, it actually does. The more money we spend on border patrol, right? Look at this. We spend more money on the border patrol, and the number of Mexicans apprehended at the border goes down. In part because people stop coming, because they know they're going to get picked up. Anything you want to say?
I just want to say that you brought up the point where all those kids from DACA were getting sent back and whatever, and you said eventually you get how they were brought here against their will. But then they're taken out of here against their will as well. They started their lives, they have their families, their homes, and they're taken from it.
Yeah.
This is all they know, and you're going to send them to a country they have no idea what it's like.
But you don't have a choice, you know what I mean? Like, come on, somebody's going to get hurt, and someone's going to have their rights curtailed somewhere. Like, maybe you didn't break it because you were a 4-year-old, but still you did in a certain sense. So it's like somebody has to...
But do you hold kids accountable for everything they do when they're younger?
What's that? What if a little kid commits a murder or something?
I mean,
Are they not
that's
accountable?
different. That's taking away somebody else's life.
Yeah, but it's a crime. You committed a crime. You've done something illegal.
But that's intentionally. This had no intent. They had
What
no
if you
idea.
accidentally
At
kill
4 years
somebody?
old, they weren't like, "Hey, mom and dad, let's go be immigrants in America."
No, maybe that. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, but still, you understand, it's a slippery slope. You're going to build this up so that so then we're going to have another million kids 20 years from now. And then 20 years from now, another million kids. It's like at some point you just stop it. That's what I'm saying.
Then we shouldn't call America the land of the free or this melting pot.
I don't call it land of the free. I call it just a land of laws. And I appreciate it. And it's good when people follow them.
That's how America is described, the land of the free, and we're a melting pot.
Yeah, I know,
and
but
yet
I don't
we're gonna
describe
discriminate.
it like that. H-1B visas are visas that we give out to people.
Work visas, right?
Work visas, who have specific skills. And what happens is employers purchase these visas from. So let's say, you're Iranian, right? I know an Iranian who's applying for an H-1B, by the way. Okay? You're Iranian. I have a job. I need someone to do this job. You're actually an Iranian citizen, and I'm like, hey, I want to hire this guy. And the government says, okay, well, you can hire him. He needs a visa. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy this visa, and I'm going to bring you in. And the issue is that most of these jobs that are given out in H-1B visas are technology jobs and healthcare jobs. As much as Americans say you should hire Americans, the fact of the matter is Americans cannot do all the high-tech work that needs to be done in this country. We're not good. People aren't interested because they're like criminology majors and not engineering majors or comp sci majors. We're not good at math. People don't like math. They don't do what they need to do. And so we have all these H-1B visas. Next slide, bro. And what we're seeing here is these are really, really important for the growth of the tech sector. And to somehow Trump, just for one, is arguing to cut back or even eliminate the H-1B visa. And people in the tech sector in Silicon Valley, and you all ought to be saying the same damn thing. You all, dude, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said. Of all the dumb things you've ever said, that's absolutely the dumbest. And that says something, right? Because that's really dumb, because it would have such a negative impact on the economy, because the whole world is going there. Dude, China, India, it's like, man, we're competing on a global stage. So it's like, no, far from curtailing immigration, we need more immigrants, many more immigrants to this country, especially those who will do the work of the tech sector. It's also estimated 10 to 11 million undocumented workers in the United States, and we gave them immediate citizenship. Over the 10 years, it would add $1.4 trillion to the U.S. economy. The Jose's of the world, the Jesuses of the world, whoever, right? Okay. Go ahead.
So I'm on the fence about this because...
Talk right into the mic.
Because on one aspect, We are bringing people in legally, which I'm okay with. We're bringing in people legally from the outside to do jobs that are very important and bring in a lot of money to the American economy.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we are taking these people from countries that should be coming up in their growth technologically and economically, and we're taking the best of their people and bringing them to America. So in a way, we're being a little bit racist when we're taking people from other countries.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Now? I think Donald Trump always just, like, as you said, always just blurts out whatever he wants. He's a pretty blunt person.
That's for sure.
So I don't think ever that H-1 visa will ever go bad.
No, this one actually, he wasn't just blurting that out.
I mean, he might do some cutbacks on it, but...
Bad idea.
I mean, it might be, but just like you said...
No, it would be.
It would be, but like just like you said, the entire world's in a competition to become like...
Exactly. So we want more. Don't cut back a single one. We need more H-1Bs.
I agree, but why wouldn't we just invest the money in... Instead of bringing all these people in, instead of doing that, we'd invest it into our own education system. So
yeah, because that's impossible, because it would cost so much money, man. So look, one of the issues is what we do is we're bringing all these immigrants in to offset the fact that our education system is terrible. And what we really need to do would be to instead of bringing immigrants in to do the jobs that other people don't want to do, including high-tech jobs, which is by and large what we're doing. What we need to do is actually invest in our education system. Like really do a better investment, because that's what we need, people who can do these jobs, so like we should train them better in math. One of the problems, we keep bringing immigrants in, we make us richer by bringing them in, right? It adds to our GDP, it adds to our economy, it adds to the social value of the United States. But what it does is it takes away from these other countries. We're taking the best of the people in some countries that can't afford it, countries like Cambodia, countries like Nigeria, countries like lots of Vietnam, and we're bringing them into the U.S. We're getting wealthy off them, but then these other countries, they get hurt. Colombians stay at home. Educated Mexicans stay at home. Like, don't come here. Stay at home and invest in your own country. And so one of the issues, next slide, is we have issues of global security. The most developed countries in the world get rich, like the United States, and we have this gross inequality in the world. We're really rich, and all these other countries are really poor because, people like you are saying, no, we need to let more immigrants in, we need to bring them in. It's like, no, we don't. They need to stay at home so they can build up their own countries, right? Do you have anything to say? Besides, it's a great point, and you agree?
No. But the point is that, listen, like, our system is screwed because we have a system that advances not the education but the tenure of these schools and high schools. But that's not the point. We just need to advance our knowledge and allow these immigrants in, because...
Dude, you're spinning, pal.
I know I'm spinning.
Because you agree with me, because I made a good point, and you have nothing to say to it.
Because, first of all, I thought the issue was about illegals. Now we're talking about legal immigrants?
It's both. Yeah, it's both. We're talking about immigration.
It's both?
Let's talk about safety and public goods. One of the things that people who want to curtail immigration all the time, they're always talking about crime. Crime, immigrants and crime. Recently, I don't know if you've been paying attention, if you watch the news, but there have been a couple of really high-profile crimes committed by undocumented immigrants. And so whenever that happens, it's on the front page of all the media everywhere in the world, and everyone looks at it, and they're like, oh my God, here we are, right? But what I want to say is, crime rates among immigrants, in particular undocumented immigrants, are lowest of any groups in the United States by far. On every measure, in every way we look at it, the crime rates of immigrants are the lowest among any group, and of undocumented immigrants, outside of the fact that they're undocumented, so every time they breathe, they're committing a crime, but it's the lowest of all groups.
Yeah, but how can you say that?
What do you mean?
How can you say that they're undocumented? You don't really know how many there are.
No, we have a pretty good idea, and we know a lot about crime rates. And according to all the FBI crime data, undocumented immigrants have the absolute lowest crime, which makes sense, right? You don't commit crimes. Come on.
Yeah, it makes sense because they want to try and stay more low-key because
exactly.
if they get caught with anything, they're just going to get shipped out.
So it's fine. So like they're not a danger to public safety or anything.
Sure, but
Go ahead. You're a criminologist, man. Help me out.
You did conveniently leave out the fact that they are illegal immigrants. So if they're here undocumented,
no, but I admit that. So their mere existence is a crime.
Exactly. So they're.
Yeah, but talk about the social good. And here, let me give you another one. So we looked at the data in the past. This is coming from the Cato Institute using FBI data, mind you, okay? The past 44 years, the average American had a 1 in a 3.64 billion chance of being killed by an immigrant, a terrorist immigrant who came here to do ill will and did ill will. 1 in 64 billion. And a 1 in 10 billion chance, the average American, of being killed by an undocumented immigrant who acted in some terrorist way to do an ill will. So it's not happening. You have a greater likelihood of being hit by an asteroid.
Sure, the likelihood is up there, but the other aspect of that is we are very, very good at protecting our society too.
One of the reasons that we're talking about public safety, one of the issues with undocumented immigration is, by allowing it to continue, people die. People's communities get destroyed, families get destroyed. Where I used to live in Ecuador, in the highlands, entire communities would be decimated by people coming into the United States. They would take loans out, they'd borrow money, they'd borrow against their land, they'd borrow against their houses. Their last dollars, or sucres at the time, they would borrow against it. And if they got caught and they lost it all, or they lost it to coyotes, they lost everything. And we just allow this system to happen where people just get slammed and really get hurt. It's very destructive to people's lives. It's just a bad idea at every level. And the humane thing, so you say like, well, the humane thing would be to allow people to stay or allow them to come. No, the humane thing would be to not allow them to come at all and actually encourage and help them invest in their own countries so that their own countries develop and move forward. That would be the humane thing. And like not supporting all the coyotes, for example. You know what coyotes are? He knows what they are. You know what they are? They are the people who help immigrants get across the border, right? So you pay them a lot of money, and then they said like these illegal gangs of people, right? So you're supporting this this economy.
Yeah, that's life, man. That's a risk you got to take in life. I mean, but it's for a better. It's not like 20,000 is going down for crack. It's $20,000 to not only help me, but help people back home find a better opportunity that isn't there in the country that they're in.
I know, but if you know that they're running the risk of really getting hurt and losing it, I just find it to be immoral.
But what other alternative is? Wait 20 years while everything's going for shit?
No, the alternative would be to put all your energy into staying home and investing in your local economy. And
invest with what?
Yeah, I got you. Do you have a thought on this?
Okay, what if your home's being bombed or attacked? And
Well, okay, that's a different story. Then it would be find some way to make. What's the same thing, though, right? It's like then put pressure on global forces to say, no, look, we got to stop the bombing. We have to stop the attacks. It's just a problem to allow this siphoning to continue to happen.